You have $11 million. You're 23 years old, and you can't spend any of it. Your face is being shown at airports. Your accounts are being watched. Investigators in 3 countries know your name, and the laptop sitting 6 feet away could put you in prison for years. Then someone knocks on your hotel door. 3 times. You freeze. Because 4 years ago, you were nobody, just a teenager with a laptop. And then one night, you realize you could steal money without ever touching it. Back then, your room looked nothing like the hotel you're hiding in now. Cheap desk, old laptop, half-empty energy drink, your parents asleep down the hall. You weren't some criminal mastermind. You weren't even particularly dangerous. You were just curious. Crypto had exploded everywhere. Everyone online seemed to be getting rich. People who barely understood what they were buying were moving thousands of dollars around like it was a video game. And you were fascinated by the part nobody wanted to talk about. Every system had mistakes, and mistakes meant opportunities. At first, you weren't chasing millions. You were chasing the feeling. That moment when something worked that probably shouldn't have. The first time you managed to take advantage of someone else's terrible security, the amount was almost disappointing. A few $1,000s, not enough to change your life, but enough to change your brain. You stare at the number on the screen, refresh, still there. Refresh again, still there. You haven't walked into a bank, you haven't worn a mask, nobody screamed, nobody chased you. You're sitting in the same chair you were sitting in 10 minutes ago, except now you have more money than you've ever had in your life. You tell yourself it was a one-time thing, then you do it again. 5,000 becomes 12. 12 becomes 30. 30 becomes enough that you stop thinking in normal numbers. Every successful score teaches you something, not just about computers, but about people. People reuse passwords. People panic. People trust things that look official. People make mistakes when money's involved. You don't need to be the smartest person alive. You just need someone else to be careless for a few seconds. For a while, you're unbelievably careful. You create an online alias. Nobody knows your real name. Nobody knows your face. In online communities, people start mentioning you without knowing who you are. Some think you're a team. Some think you're some 40-year-old genius living in Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, you're 19, eating cereal in your bedroom, trying not to laugh because your mother just asked if you've started applying for university. Then comes the first big one. You sit down expecting another normal night. A few hours later, you're staring at a number you genuinely think must be wrong. $280,000. You check again. Then again. Your hands are shaking. You stand up, walk around the room, sit back down, and look at it one more time. $280,000. That's when this stops being a hobby. You start sleeping during the day and working at night. You learn how investigators think. You study stories about hackers who got caught, not because you admire them, but because you want to understand what they did wrong. One bragged too much, another reused an identity, another spent money in a way that made no sense. Every arrest becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes something you swear you'll never repeat. And for a while, it works. By 20, you have more than $1 million spread across places nobody around you knows exist. On paper, your life still looks ordinary. Your clothes are normal. Your phone is normal. Your bedroom is still the same. But every time someone complains about being broke, you have to pretend you understand. Every time your friends talk about saving for something, you nod along while knowing you could secretly pay for all of it. The money becomes almost unreal. Numbers on screens. Until eventually, numbers aren't enough. You want to feel rich, so you move out. Nothing ridiculous at first. A nicer apartment, a better laptop, expensive dinners you claim you saved for, then flights, hotels, clothes, a watch you definitely shouldn't be able to afford. You tell yourself you deserve some of it. What's the point of having millions if you live like you have nothing? And that is the first real mistake. Not the watch itself, not the apartment, the feeling. Because getting away with something for long enough does something dangerous to you. It starts replacing fear with confidence. Then confidence becomes arrogance. The rules you created to protect yourself start feeling annoying. You begin taking shortcuts. You stay logged in longer. You reuse places you trust. You tell one person a little too much because you're tired of nobody knowing what you've accomplished. Meanwhile, somewhere you've never been, people are building a file on you. At first, investigators don't know your name. They don't know your age. They don't even know what country you're in. All they have are incidents, separate victims, separate transfers, separate pieces of digital evidence that don't appear connected. Until somebody notices a pattern. The timing is similar. Certain habits repeat. Tiny decisions keep appearing across cases. One investigator puts two events together. Another finds a third. Suddenly, what looked like dozens of unrelated crimes starts looking like one person. You. Of course, you don't know any of this yet. You're having the best year of your life. 2 million becomes 4. 4 becomes 7. By 22, the total amount that has passed through your hands is absurd. You stop checking prices at restaurants. You fly somewhere because you're bored. You spend 3 weeks in a city where nobody knows you. You start believing anonymity isn't something you're maintaining anymore. It's something you own. Then one morning, you open your laptop and see your alias in a news article. At first, you smile. They're talking about you, not your real name, just the identity you created years ago. The article describes a mysterious figure believed to be connected to several major crypto thefts. The estimated amount is lower than the real number, which somehow makes it funnier. You send the article to someone you trust with one message. They have no idea. That message will matter later. For now, you feel famous without actually being famous, which might be the perfect kind of fame. People know the name, but nobody knows the person. Online forums argue about who you are. Somebody claims you're an ex-government hacker. Someone else says you're an organized crime group. One person insists you don't exist at all. You love that one. Then your first account gets frozen. You stare at the screen, try again, nothing. You tell yourself it's random. Platforms freeze accounts all the time. Then another one stops working. A service you've used for months suddenly asks for information it never asked for before. And for the first time in years, that old feeling comes back. Fear. You spend the next 12 hours moving, checking, deleting, thinking. You barely eat. Every notification makes your stomach tighten. By morning, nothing else has happened. Maybe you overreacted. A week passes, then 2. You relax. That's your second big mistake. Because the investigators didn't lose you. They were waiting. They know your alias. They know parts of your financial trail. Now they need the person behind it. And the problem with being a person is that you have a life outside a computer. You order food, you travel, you have friends, you buy things, you take pictures. You complain about bad Wi-Fi. You exist in the real world, and the real world leaves footprints. One tiny piece of information connects to another. A time zone, a purchase, a login, a message. Nothing dramatic by itself. But investigations aren't built from one dramatic clue. They're built from boring little clues that become terrifying when someone stacks enough of them together. Eventually, your online identity touches your real life. And the second that happens, the game changes completely. You wake up one morning to 12 missed calls. Your friend has sent you one message. Bro, call me. You don't. You search your name. For a second, you genuinely can't breathe. There you are. Your actual name, your age, and an old photo. Articles are appearing faster than you can open them. Authorities believe you are connected to millions in stolen cryptocurrency. An international investigation is underway. Requests have been sent to companies, airports, financial institutions, and suddenly $11 million feels completely useless. You can't buy the car you wanted. Cars have registrations. You can't sign a normal lease. Leases need identities. You can't casually move huge amounts of money without somebody asking why a 23-year-old with no visible career is suddenly rich. Even the things you already own start feeling dangerous. That watch you loved? Evidence. That expensive apartment? Evidence. The flights? Evidence. The messages? Evidence. You spend years collecting money only to realize you've also been collecting proof. So you run. Not dramatically. No suitcase full of cash. No private jet waiting on a runway. Real running is uglier than that. You throw clothes into a bag. Leave things behind because taking them might be worse. You book somewhere cheap under circumstances you would have laughed at a year ago. You keep your head down in places where nobody cares who you are. The first hotel feels temporary. The second feels worse. By the fifth, every hallway looks the same. You stop sleeping properly. You wake up at tiny noises, elevator doors, footsteps, someone laughing outside. A cleaner knocking 2 rooms away sends your heart through your chest. You start seeing danger in everyone. The guy sitting in the lobby too long. The woman looking at her phone near the elevator. The car parked outside. Are they watching you? Probably not, but probably doesn't help when your face is circulating online. You still technically have millions. That's the funniest part. The number never stopped being huge. But your world gets smaller every day. You eat worse food than when you were broke. You sleep in worse rooms than when you were broke. You talk to fewer people than when you were broke. You become terrified of things normal people don't think twice about. Checking into hotels, crossing borders, using your own name, opening curtains. The money that was supposed to buy freedom has turned your life into a cage. Then late one night, you make the mistake that finally tells you how close they are. You open the laptop. You shouldn't. You know you shouldn't. But you've spent years solving problems by sitting in front of a screen. And panic doesn't magically erase habits. You need information. You need to know what investigators know. And you find something. A report mentioning a location, not your current hotel, but close. Too close. Your whole body goes cold. You look at the clock. You close the laptop, stand up. Your bag is already half packed. Then someone knocks on the door 3 times. You don't move. There's no shouting, no announcement, just 3 knocks. You stare at the handle. Another knock. Your brain runs through every possibility at once. Police, hotel staff, wrong room, someone you know, someone who followed you. You step closer, barely breathing. Then you hear a muffled voice from outside. A different room number. Silence. Footsteps moving away. Wrong door. For maybe 10 seconds, you just stand there. Then you start laughing. Not because it's funny, because your body doesn't know what else to do. And that's the moment you finally understand something you should have understood years ago. This doesn't end with you getting richer. You already got rich. It doesn't end when you reach 20 million or 50 million. There is no number where you suddenly close the laptop, become a normal person, and live happily ever after. Every extra dollar just gives investigators another reason not to stop. You have 2 choices. Keep running and hope they never get close enough, or stop before the choice disappears completely. But there's one problem. You're addicted to winning, not the money anymore. Winning. For 4 years, every success taught you the same lesson. You were smarter than whoever was chasing you. Every close call made you more confident. Every article without your real name felt like proof you couldn't be touched. And part of you still believes it. So instead of disappearing, you make one final decision. You're going to move again. One more country, one more reset, one more chance to vanish. You leave the hotel before sunrise. Hood up, bag over your shoulder, no dramatic music in real life, just tired footsteps and a nearly empty street. You reach the airport and immediately know something is wrong. There are more officers than usual. Maybe that means nothing. You keep walking. Your face feels hot. Passport in your hand. 20 meters to security. 15, 10. Then one officer looks toward you. Not past you. At you. He says something to another officer. You stop walking. And in that tiny pause, 4 years collapse into about 4 seconds. The bedroom. The first few $1,000s. The first million. The apartment. The flights. The article. The frozen accounts. The hotel door. $11 million. All of it. You spent years believing the dangerous part was stealing the money. It wasn't. The dangerous part was believing that because nobody stopped you yesterday, nobody would stop you tomorrow. The officer walks toward you, then another. There's nowhere useful to run. And suddenly the most wanted crypto hacker in the world doesn't look like a mysterious mastermind anymore. He looks 23, tired, scared, holding a bag. You don't make it through security. Months later, the internet does what it always does. Your arrest becomes content. People analyze your story. Some call you a genius. Others call you an idiot. Videos explain how you were supposedly caught. Strangers argue over which tiny mistake destroyed everything. But they're all looking for one mistake. There wasn't one. That's the point. It was hundreds. Tiny compromises stacked across 4 years. A message you shouldn't have sent. Money you shouldn't have spent. A connection you assumed didn't matter. A shortcut because the careful way took longer. Every time you got away with something, you became slightly less afraid of the next mistake. And eventually, investigators didn't need you to make one huge error. They just needed enough small ones. You got the money. You got the lifestyle. For a while, you even got the feeling of being untouchable. But the more money you stole, the less of your own life you were actually allowed to live. By the time you had $11 million, you couldn't safely buy breakfast with it. You wanted enough money to never worry again. Instead, you created a life where every knock at the door made you stop breathing. And maybe that's the strangest part of becoming the world's most wanted crypto hacker. At the beginning, you're broke and completely free. At the end, you're worth millions, and you can't go anywhere.